you know that there are things that happen in your family that other people don't know about. And it's the same with our family. There are things that happen in our family you don't know
we
about.
don't film, we don't share, so
just trust us that we're doing what's best.
Hey you guys, it's Britt tonight. We're here with a little update on the Ruby Frankie arrest. We're going to talk about the official charges, and I also want to talk to you guys about Kevin Franke. His lawyer is going on a little bit of a press tour and making some statements about his client, which is Kevin, and we're just going to talk all about it. But if you're interested, please keep watching. Hey guys, the neighbor's 911 call has also been released, so instead of making a completely separate video, I'm going to go ahead and play that for you guys in the beginning of this one, and then we will proceed with the video.
911, the address of your emergency. Tell me exactly what's happened.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help.
This is an audio recording of the 911 call that led to the arrest of Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt a week ago. My name's Daniela Rivera. I'm with the KSL investigators, and our team obtained this recording through a public record request. I'm going to play some clips from the call for you here.
We know there's been problems at this neighbor's house. He's emaciated, he's got tape around his legs, he's hungry, and he's thirsty. And he asked us to call the police.
What's
So
his
he's
name?
very afraid. This kid has obviously been, I think he's been detained. He's obviously covered in wounds. He escaped.
Well, I'm glad that he was able to make it to
They're on their way.
He could be safe.
Jodi Hildebrandt is up there right now.
Okay.
So she may come looking for him here soon, but he's not going to, obviously. We need the cops here as soon as possible.
All right, you guys, so this came out last night, well, yesterday evening, and I will, of course, link it down below, but this is according to NBC News, and it says Ruby Franke, the mother of 6 behind the Family Channel 8 passengers, has been charged with 6 counts of felony child abuse by the Washington County attorney in Utah. A spokesperson for the attorney's office confirmed this to NBC on Tuesday. It goes on to say that there are 2 juvenile victims in these cases, and each defendant is accused of causing or permitting serious physical injury to the victims in 3 different ways. 1, a combination of multiple physical injuries or torture. 2, starvation or malnutrition that jeopardizes life. And 3, causing severe emotional harm. That is what the county attorney said. Both Jodi and Ruby are still in custody too, which I think is fantastic. I am so glad that they are not out living in their luxury homes while they are waiting for things to proceed. I am very, very satisfied to know that they are both still sitting in jail. I almost said prison. So obviously, you know, I think that a lot of us probably had some kind of idea as to what the charges would be, but to see them on paper that they are official, it's one step closer to these kids getting justice. Every single time I've made a video since this arrest was announced, I've talked about how long of a road these kids are going to have in front of them. And I think that's something that isn't necessarily talked about enough. Like, everything that led us to this point, horrible, awful, terrible, heartbreaking. But the road that they have in front of them is also going to be all of those things. Dealing with not only the fact that you were malnourished, mistreated, abused as a child, that in itself is a very long road. But to know that your mother is the one that did all of those things to you is a whole different ballgame. based on other people's stories that they have shared when they dealt with situations like this, to hear the pain and agony that some of these people carry with them for the rest of their lives is what really sticks with me. So that's why I make it a point to mention it in every video. And I know that sometimes I get very repetitive and that might be annoying to some, but I really hope that no matter the outcome of this, I really hope that Ruby and Jodi both go away for a very, very, very long time. But I also hope that going forward that people still think of these kids, because they are going to be dealing with this for the rest of their lives. And that really sickens me. The route that Kevin and his attorney are taking with this entire situation is that Kevin hasn't been around for a year and he had no clue what was going on behind closed doors. He is a loving and nurturing father, and he wants to keep all of his children together and not be in the same boat with his soon-to-be, I assume, ex-wife. He is definitely trying to keep his hands clean. But let's get into these couple of interviews that his attorney has done, and I will insert my opinions throughout.
Ruby Franke facing 6 felony counts of child abuse. Her husband, Kevin, seen here in one of Ruby's many social media videos, now fighting to clear his own name.
He's a good person. He's very gentle. He's a very gentle guy, and no one's ever made any allegations that he's ever physically abused those kids or anyone else.
His lawyer telling ABC News that Kevin's main objective is the safety of his kids.
He just wants to do what's best for.
So he's a good person. He's very gentle. He didn't have anything to do with any of the torment that these children went through. Let's quickly get out of the way the very obvious point that I'm sure all of you guys can see this coming a mile away. But Kevin Franke was literally in the same home producing extremely gross and problematic content for their very popular YouTube channel for years. So you're trying to tell me now that this same person who was heavily involved in creating this gross content that was absolutely exhibiting child abuse is now saying, oh, well, I wasn't around for the last year, so I have nothing to do with this. None of the accountability is on my plate, and I need to walk away from this with my children so that we can move on with our lives. I would like to, number one, I would say an interview with Sherry and Chad, because they are the 2 oldest and they are both legal adults right now. There should be an in-depth interview with those 2 just to get their opinion and see what was really going on. Was Kevin actually popping by once in a while? Like, I don't like the idea of him being so heavily involved in creating this toxic, awful, abusive content, and now, because he hasn't been living with Ruby full time, he wants to wash his hands of it. I don't appreciate this, well, it's not my fault thing. You are also their parent. And I said in another video, I place more responsibility at his feet than I do with the sisters, because Kevin is their father. As a father, you know, people get separated and go through divorces and spend time apart all of the time. That is just something that happens with a lot of people. So just because you're going through a period of separation, for me, that doesn't just erase you from having any responsibility placed at your feet.
His kids, get them back, get them under his tutelage and his fathership, and protect them.
Kevin shares 6 children with Ruby, who became YouTube famous for dishing out sometimes controversial parenting advice.
So up until
If he wanted to do what was best for his kids, then he would have not allowed the nonsense that Ruby was putting all over their YouTube channel for years. But do you know why he was okay with that? It's because it put them in $1 million homes. It allowed both of them to make a lot of money over the years because she was putting the kids on YouTube, and he was okay with it. But now he's a gentle guy that wants to protect his kids. Like, okay, where was that energy years ago when they were being exploited all up and down, left and right, all over YouTube.
I was really hoping that like keeping them home from school and wiping the floorboards would like really bring pain.
The pair had been separated and living in different homes for the last 13 months. Kevin's lawyer says he's distraught at how the allegations have impacted his family. In a since-deleted video from her YouTube, Ruby's sister Bonnie says family members tried to intervene.
We all did as much as we could legally, and you don't know what you don't know.
Ruby arrested last week after authorities say her 12-year-old son escaped through a window, running to a neighbor.
Remember when he and Ruby, and I'll find a clip and include it for you guys, but do you remember when he and Ruby, this was not that long ago in the grand scheme of things, they sent their oldest child, or they sent their oldest son to Anastasia. They freaking sent him to Anastasia. When they got backlash, they both sat there and stared in that camera lens and told everybody how wrong they were.
On August 9th of 2019, Ruby and her wonderful husband Kevin emotionally relayed some pretty unfortunate news to their audience.
And the guy says, oh, you don't need to bring anything except 36 pair of underwear. When Chad heard it, he was like, I really am going to go live in the desert in my underwear.
Is the music necessary? Is it really necessary? I don't think it's necessary.
Chad today has just entered the Anasazi Foundation Wilderness Therapy Program, where he's going to spend the next 8 to 10 weeks living in the
Anasazi Desert.
Yeah, the desert mountains of Arizona.
It became evident that some unspecified behavioral episodes had led the couple to their final decision of sending their 14-year-old son to live in the desert to be fixed, I guess, where he would be stripped of all his basic commodities and forced to adopt a new minimalist, rugged way of living. The mindset here, of course, being that this change of pace would give him a new appreciation for the luxuries he has at home, assisting him along his spiritual journey with God.
So the idea is with wilderness therapy is if you can survive with these peers in the wilderness with nothing more than the clothes on your back and a couple of field supplies, then there's nothing in this world that you can't tackle.
And they said, like, it's like the real wilderness out there. There's snakes, there's bears, there's coyotes, cougars, like it's the real deal.
We want Chad to have some of those experiences.
I think close encounters would be good for him.
Yeah, because those types of experiences can teach you what's really important.
And he'll come home and he'll be like, dude, I survived and there were bears. I can do anything. I'm not scared at all about that kind of stuff. What I lose sleep over is when kids start self-sabotaging their own efforts.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that really concerns me.
Just to stick it to their teachers or to stick it to their parents or family.
And the only person they're really hurting is themselves.
Shut the fuck up.
Kevin has backed up a lot of the abusive things that Ruby has put on YouTube. And he defended it because he was benefiting so far and wide by the gross stuff that they were putting on YouTube. He allowed it to happen.
Around is this hype? Is this people not liking her, or is this her being really bad as a parent? Ruby's husband, the father, he was there, at least for some of it, right? Did he know? Did he see it differently? Is he going to get charged? His side has not been told. Kevin Franke's lawyer, Randy Kester, joins us now. Counselor, thank you for taking the opportunity.
Thank you, Chris.
First, what is your client's take on the behavior of the mother?
Well, I'm sort of under certain constraints not to speak ill of anyone involved in this case. We've had hearings with the juvenile court, and we all agreed that we wouldn't speak ill of one another or respond to allegations that have been leveled. Just in an effort to try to keep the kids out of social media and sort of tamp this thing down to do what we can to get these kids back to a good life.
So they want to keep the kids out of social media now. What about their entire childhood being plastered all over social media? Where was the privacy then? Don't tell me that your client literally wants to protect these kids now, but when it was making them huge, massive amounts of money, where was that energy back then? Kevin was there, he was fully aware, and he was involved in the awful stuff that these kids went through. He saw that in vlogs, Ruby was saying that she didn't feed her children. He was involved in everything for years.
They're still young, they've got their whole lives ahead of us.
I'm with you. All due deference to the kids. The horse is out of the barn, all right? Your client let the mother put the kids' lives and all the discipline all over the place on YouTube. So that decision was just fine when they were monetizing it. Now, all of a sudden, they want standards and they want us to be careful about the kids. The careful question here goes to whether or not they were careful with the kids.
Yes, everything is okay as long as it's monetized. I hope that this situation, despite the fact that it is so full of pain and hurt, I do really hope that it changes a lot of people's perspective on putting your kids on social media. That should just not be a thing anymore. These parents, in my opinion, as I've said for over 3 years straight, they should not be able to sit here and prop their kids up on social media as if they are dolls who don't have emotions, don't have privacy, don't have feelings, and they're used as a way for the parent to sit at home and make vlogs for a living. I really hope that the climate changes, and it has to. It absolutely has to. Like, you should not be able to become a millionaire because you posted your kids' meltdowns and their ER visits and diaper changes on social media.
Did your husband have a role in the behavior that's now being charged?
Absolutely not.
How? When he's the father and he was in the house, how did he not know and not?
But he did, because he was there for years. He was heavily involved in making all of this content for YouTube. He was literally at Ruby's side when she was being abusive to the children. Now, over the last year, I don't know, he's saying that he wasn't around, but how do we even know who to trust? How do we know that he wasn't around 5 months ago or popping in once in a while? I don't believe, frankly, I don't believe a word that any family vlogger usually says, and especially now. Why would he fess up to saying, yeah, I was around? He doesn't want to go to prison with frickin' Ruby.
Not do anything about it.
Mom had the kids for the summer and went out of the county with.
Okay, so Ruby had the kids for the summer, but in a previous video, like I talked about, this malnutrition part of her charges and what the arresting officers were seeing, that doesn't happen in just a short period of time. And the summer literally just ended. And if we're talking about malnutrition taking in between 3 and 6 months, sounds like to me you are literally trying to take yourself out of the equation right when things started to go super south. I don't know. Again, like, I was a little hard on her sisters, and that was not deserved. But I do think that people being hard on Kevin is 100% deserved. And I think that he also knows that his entire future is going to, be in the garbage pail next to Ruby sitting in prison. So of course he's not going to say that he was around recently, but let's also talk about all of the years of content that they were putting out, literally exhibiting child mistreatment publicly and making a lot of money off of it.
The kids. And if he had known of or thought there was abuse going on, he would have been all over it.
So is your suggestion that everything that has been charged happened after he left?
Correct.
So none of the things that the mother has been charged with happened when he was in the house?
That's correct. It happened in a house that was a couple of 100 miles away from where Mr. Frankie was. And he's never.
One of the allegations is that the kid.
I love how he calls his own client Frankie. What was that, Mr. Frankie? Sir.
One of the allegations is that the kid, Chad, wasn't allowed to sleep in a bed for 7 months. Why did he think that was okay?
I can't comment on that. I have a duty to my client, to the court, not to comment on that question.
But that would have been while he was there. That's all I'm saying. Did he have a different feeling about parenting that's changed at some point?
I'm not certain when that happened, but my client's was not around the children when this happened this summer.
So is his position that these allegations are unfair, and is he going to defend?
But you can't sit there and, I mean, I guess you can, but you look like an idiot, to literally sit up there and say that, oh, my client doesn't support these things, would never be involved in these things. But we have an entire archive of YouTube videos, vlogs, little video clips, all of the things that literally prove that Kevin was there when a lot of this mistreatment was happening. Maybe he wasn't around this summer, since he claims, you know, Ruby had the kids for this summer. But the summer literally just started in June. So the math isn't really mathing. And at the same time, I see a very self-serving person in Kevin, as well as Ruby. But of course he's going to try to remove himself from the situation because he doesn't want to get sent to prison. But it was okay when it was making them a lot of money. He would sit there next to Ruby and defend their awful parenting actions because it was making them a lot of money. But now the gig is up and you conveniently haven't been around when the worst of the worst has been happening. But you were around for a really long time and you co-signed it alongside Ruby. And that's disgusting. And that's why people have always had issues with 8 passengers. And, you know, he sees Ruby going down in flames and he doesn't want to be there next to her. It's very, very obvious what's happening here. But I hope that justice is served for all of the adults who failed these children. And that includes Kevin. He is the father. He is an adult that failed these children alongside Ruby and Jodi. You are a parent. You are their father. And in my opinion, I don't think that he should just get off with 0 punishment. But again, what do I know? I'm just here to share my opinion. But that's going to be enough for today. So many things happening with this 8 passengers situation. I know that it is a little heavy on the coverage, but I'm also trying to pop in other topics to keep everyone happy. And, you know, you guys know, and if you don't know, I do work full time and I have a life outside of YouTube. So I am doing my best and I appreciate your all's patience. But for now, if you like the video, please leave a like and a comment. And if you'd like to see more from me in the future, please subscribe. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.